At our wedding, she whispered, "Don't embarrass me. He's the real love of my life." I smiled, played the video of her and my best man on the big screen. The church went silent, and I walked out with the ring still in my pocket. I'm Daniel. I'm 34, born and raised in Texas, and for 3 years I believed I'd found the person I wanted to spend my life with, Emily. We met in college, hit it off, and kept building a life that felt natural and easy. She laughed at the same jokes I did. She had a way of making a crowded room feel smaller, like we were the only ones there. After graduation, our relationship tightened. We moved in together, found rhythm in the small things, and before long, I was on one knee asking her to marry me. She cried and said yes, and for a long time, I lived in that quiet certainty that everything was right. People liked us. Neighbors waved when we pulled into the driveway. Friends called us the couple who could balance each other. We bought a small house, spent weekends painting and arranging furniture, and hosted game nights that stretched into the early hours. It felt like the kind of ordinary joy people write about. Jason, my best friend since middle school, was there through it all. He'd been at my side for trouble and for loss. He was the one I trusted without thinking. When I asked him to be my best man, he was the first person I told. He accepted like it were the most natural thing in the world. 6 months before the wedding, the air between Emily and me shifted. It started small. She'd pull away when I reached for her hand. She dimmed conversations that used to last for hours. She started making excuses, long work nights, early mornings, headaches that came and went. I told myself I was tired, or that wedding planning stress was getting to both of us. I wanted to believe that. I tried to ask her directly, but each time she gave me a smile that shut the question down. "You worry too much," she'd say, and I wanted to trust her. The night I found her phone on the couch felt ordinary at first. I was rummaging for a remote, and the screen lit up with a message. The name was the one I'd known my whole life, Jason. When I saw the words on the preview, something inside changed instantly. "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you." I knew I shouldn't read more. I knew I was crossing a line. Still, I sat there and let the silence stretch until I couldn't ignore it. It would have been easier to confront them that night. Maybe it would have been cleaner. But anger does strange things. I didn't want to fight in a living room. I wanted certainty. I wanted proof. So I kept my face the same. I kept planning. I smiled at meetings, joked with friends, and let the world continue as if we were on the path everyone expected us to be on. I hired a private investigator, something I never thought I'd do. The invoices felt like a betrayal of my own values at first, but the reports arrived and they were detailed. Photographs of Emily slipping into an apartment late at night. Short videos of them leaving restaurants together, hands touching in ways they hid from me. Recordings where Emily's voice said things she never said to me, that she'd never loved me the way she loved Jason, that being with him felt like being seen in a way I didn't provide. I remember how ordinary their evidence looked on paper, timestamps, addresses. But to me, it was a map of everything I had thought was real and how thin that reality had become. The rage came in waves, but I became very deliberate. I let them talk to me. I let them believe their secret was safe. I did not cancel the wedding. I decided instead to use the day everyone expected to celebrate us as the moment truth would arrive in front of the people who mattered most. I practiced smiling in the mirror. I practiced being calm when Emily mentioned plans. I talked to Jason like nothing had changed. Outside, I built a picture of a trusting groom. Inside, I carried the evidence and the quiet knowledge that the moment I had rehearsed in my head was getting close. The wedding morning felt surreal. The church was filled with people who had traveled, dressed up, and gathered to see what they thought would be the happiest day of my life. I greeted relatives, shook hands with friends, and listened to casual jokes about the big step. On the surface, everything looked like the perfect picture. Inside, I was steady but detached, like I was walking through a scene I had already watched play out in my head. Emily looked beautiful. Her dress was simple but elegant, the kind of look that made people whisper about how stunning she was. Jason stood beside me, steady in his role as best man, smiling with the ease of someone who believed he had gotten away with everything. They both looked like actors in a play, unaware that the script had changed. When it came time to exchange vows, the air in the church grew quiet. Emily stepped forward, her hand brushing mine. She leaned in, her lips barely moving, and whispered words that should have crushed me. "Don't embarrass me. He's the real love of my life. Just get through this." Her voice was sharp, almost careless, as if she believed I had no choice but to go along. For a moment, I let the silence inside me expand. It wasn't shock anymore. I had already lived through that. Instead, it was confirmation. She had just handed me the last piece I needed. The pastor looked at me, waiting for my turn. I held Emily's gaze and smiled. Not the smile of a man surrendering, but the kind you give when you know something the other person doesn't. My voice was calm when I spoke. Actually, I said, I've got something better. The lights in the church dimmed. A quiet shuffle of confusion spread across the room. Then the projector screen behind us flickered on. I had arranged it with the venue days before, just in case nerves got the best of me. I didn't need vows. I needed truth. The first clip played, Emily and Jason together in a bed that wasn't mine. The room went silent except for the low audio that followed. Late-night phone calls where their voices carried the kind of intimacy I hadn't heard in months. Photo after photo showed them slipping into places when they thought no one was watching, their hands linked, their faces too close. The sound of disbelief swept through the church. Chairs creaked as people shifted, muttering to each other. A few covered their mouths. Others looked from Emily to Jason, waiting for some kind of denial that never came. Emily's face turned pale, her hands trembling around her bouquet. Jason stood frozen, no longer the confident best man, but a man who knew the walls had closed in. I turned back to Emily and slipped the ring into my pocket. My voice carried clearly in the silence. You were right. I won't embarrass you. You embarrassed yourself. I walked away from the altar, each step light in a way I hadn't felt in months. Behind me came noise, voices rising, people shouting questions, Emily crying, Jason stammering. The chaos was theirs to handle. I didn't look back. As I pushed the church doors open, sunlight poured in, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was stepping out of a cage. The weight of lies had been lifted in a single moment, and all I had left to carry was myself. That walk down the aisle wasn't to a new wife. It was to freedom. The moment I stepped outside the church, it was like a different world. The sun was warm, the air was sharp, and for the first time in months I could actually breathe. I wasn't the man waiting for answers anymore. I already had them. The lies were gone, exposed in front of everyone who mattered. I stood on the steps for a second, just letting the breeze hit my face. Then I walked to my car, pulled off the tie that suddenly felt too tight, and drove away. Behind me, the noise of that church would continue for hours, but I didn't need to hear it. 2 hours later, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Calls, texts, voicemails, all stacked one after the other. At first it was Emily. Her words swung wildly from one extreme to another. Daniel, how could you do this to me? You ruined everything. Then, please, we can fix this. Don't throw us away over one mistake. And then, I didn't mean what I said. I love you. You're the one I want. Just call me back. I read them without answering. Silence felt stronger than any reply. Jason tried calling too, though not as often. A couple of short voicemails, his voice low and strained. Man, please, let's talk. You don't understand. I didn't need to understand. I had seen enough. Later that evening, Emily's mom called me 3 times in a row. Her message was polite but desperate. Daniel, please come back. This is a misunderstanding. Don't let this ruin the family's name. I didn't answer. It wasn't my responsibility to carry their reputation. By the end of the night, I had over 50 missed calls. I set the phone face down and let it keep ringing. The following week was louder than anything I could have planned. Word spread quickly, faster than I thought it would. What happened at the church wasn't just family gossip. It was everywhere. Friends told friends. Neighbors whispered at the grocery stores. People I barely knew sent messages saying they couldn't believe what Emily and Jason had done. Emily had always imagined her wedding would make her the center of admiration. Instead, it made her the subject of every conversation in town. Instead of a white dress and happy photos, she was remembered for what showed on that screen. Jason's fall was quicker and sharper. A few weeks later, I heard from a mutual friend that his boss had found out about the affair and the lies he had told to cover it. Business trips and late hours had all been excuses. Once the truth surfaced, so did his reputation. The company let him go, and just like that, years of effort vanished. Meanwhile, I kept my head down. I didn't talk much. I didn't try to correct rumors. I let the truth stand on its own. For me, the noise outside was just proof that I had made the right choice walking away. Every night that week, I went to bed and slept straight through. No interruptions, no turning over with doubts. That's when I realized something simple. Peace doesn't come from winning an argument. It comes from finally stepping out of a life built on lies. After the dust of the wedding day had settled, I turned my focus inward. I wasn't chasing explanations, apologies, or second chances. I just wanted my life back. The honeymoon trip was the first thing to deal with. I called the airline, canceled the tickets, and had the refund moved straight into my savings. No one else had paid for it, so no one else had a claim. It was money I could use to start fresh. Then came the house. My name was the only one on the mortgage, which made things simple. I listed it for sale, packed my belongings, and arranged movers. Emily tried calling about it, leaving messages saying she had rights since she had decorated and bought furniture. But paperwork doesn't bend to feelings. When the sale closed, She walked away with nothing more than a suitcase. About a month after the wedding, Emily showed up at my door. She didn't look like the woman I had once proposed to. Her hair was messy, her eyes were swollen, and her voice cracked when she spoke. "Daniel," she said, "please. I made a mistake. Jason isn't who I thought he was. He's selfish. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. I was wrong. You were always the better man." Once, those words would have pulled me back in. I would have given anything to hear them. But now they didn't mean what she hoped. I looked at her for a long moment and answered quietly. "You didn't make a mistake, Emily. You made a choice. And choices have consequences. This is yours." Then I closed the door. She knocked for a while, crying and pleading, but I didn't open it again. Jason reached out too, not in person, but with a long email that tried to sound like reconciliation. He wrote about how brotherhood should matter more than a woman, and how he never thought it would go this far. I read the first half and deleted it. Brotherhood ended the moment he chose my fiancée over loyalty. The irony was how quickly their picture-perfect bond fell apart. Within 3 months, they weren't even together anymore. Friends told me about fights, ugly shouting matches over money, jealousy, and blame. Emily wanted stability, marriage, and a family. Jason wanted freedom and fun, and without me paying for dinners, trips, and bills, their relationship showed its cracks fast. Eventually, Emily moved back in with her parents. Jason packed up and left town altogether. The story that once felt like it defined my life had become nothing more than small-town gossip, and I let it pass me by without adding a word. For me, life began to feel lighter. I focused on work, on staying healthy, on quiet weekends where nobody demanded anything of me. It was strange at first, waking up without the constant weight of suspicion or pretending things were fine. But slowly it felt normal, and then it felt good. I realized that peace doesn't show up in grand gestures. It shows up in the silence when your phone isn't buzzing with lies. It shows up when you cook dinner alone, and the quiet feels like comfort, not loneliness. It shows up in the mornings when you don't dread the day ahead. And that's what I had been missing all along. Not love, not even companionship, but peace. 6 months after the wedding, life had found its rhythm again. I wasn't waiting for the phone to light up, and I wasn't looking back. Then one morning, while grabbing coffee at a small shop near my place, I saw her. Emily sat at a corner table, stirring a cup that had probably gone cold. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize her. The shine she once carried, the energy that pulled people in, was gone. Her posture was heavy, her eyes tired. She noticed me as I walked past, and her lips curved into a faint, hesitant smile. "Daniel," she whispered when I stopped. Her voice was softer than I remembered, almost fragile. "I just want you to know. I regret everything. You were the best thing that ever happened to me." I looked at her, searching for the person I had once loved. But what I saw was someone worn down by choices she couldn't undo. For a long time, I thought hearing those words would matter. Now they felt hollow. "I know," I said quietly. And then I turned and walked out, leaving her in that coffee shop with her regrets. As I stepped outside, it struck me. Revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It isn't about shouting or punishing or proving a point. It's about reclaiming your power, your peace, your freedom. Emily and Jason had taken months of my life, but in the end, they destroyed themselves. All I had to do was step aside and let the truth be seen. That day at the church, I didn't just walk out of a ruined wedding. I walked into something better, a life without lies, without second-guessing, without the weight of someone else's betrayal hanging over me. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.